Welcome back and hello if you're new. Following their 2016 Nuclear Blast debut Ode to the Flame, Mantar have returned to deliver their brand new sophomore effort, but has it improved from its predecessor? This week I look to the band's brand new fourth album, The Modern Art of Setting Ablaze. For those unfamiliar with the band, it's made up of two members, Hanno Kleinhardt, who is both guitars and vocals, and drummer Eric Zakaria. First and foremost, the band are, I would say, a doom metal band. There are elements of black metal and you could argue punk that run through their overall vibe. And of course, you know, the band have attracted a very much metallic crowd. The band's metallic sound is more influenced by both punk and the likes of the Sisters of Mercy than metal. So kicking the album off with the atmospheric The Knowing, Mantar slowly kind of draw the listener in. But what's probably the most apparent about this release, despite their varying genres that, you know, the band have incorporated, there's a real sense of that punk ethos and that punk aesthetic behind their songwriting. It may not necessarily sound exactly like what classic punk is, but punk is really a feel and a vibe. And for example, on Age of the Absurd, you know, it's got that stripped back approach that punk has. I also think that the production helps this punk aesthetic come through as well. You know, the drums sound absolutely fantastic, and when you're literally just a two-piece, a lot of attention is going to be put toward these two instruments, really. But I thought it was really interesting. There are some sounds where the drums, it must be a tambourine, but the drum's tambourine sounds like money being flipped. But it brings it back to this kind of less is more approach on the track Taurus. However, Eternal Return does feature some really big doom elements, but later on in the track, once again, this punk vibe kind of seeps through, really. The Formation of Night, their foundations definitely lie with that idea of punk. Mantar may be kind of a bit one-dimensional, but there are elements of atmosphere on the record as well. For example, Obey the Obscene has got these really interesting organ introductions, which does kind of create a bit of atmosphere, although it's fairly limited, and then we go back into these riffs, as well as the end of The Formation of Night, which has that small melody. You know, melody is very sparse on this album, so when it does come in, you notice it a bit more, I find. Given the simplistic makeup of the band, you know, clever dynamics are really important, I think. In Anti-Eternia, the opening section has got these really kind of accentuated drum beats which work together with the guitar. And Dynasty of Nails have also got these similar ideas. But the band do have some killer riffs. For example, the opening section of Teeth of the Sea has got a real kind of, you know, heavy metal slant to it, as well as Seek and Forget as well. And of course, a couple of riffs on Midgard Serpent. Despite there being some variation on the record, there were sections where I did find myself thinking, I've heard this before, or I'm kind of lost. And I feel that there wasn't quite enough differentiation throughout the album to kind of really understand, you know, that this is a definite different song. And the songs can somewhat blend into one another. You could argue that it was the lack of melody which was somewhat of a contributor to this. In terms of the artwork, personally, I really don't understand where it sort of kind of sits with the album. It really kind of doesn't match the band's overall image, and I feel that it was definitely something that kind of had put me off. But to me, it just seems as though it's somewhat mismatched. Mantar's brand new album, The Modern Art of Setting Ablaze, has elements of black metal, doom metal, heavy metal, you know, the classic tropes of what we've come to know and love. but with this punk ethos. And although there are some great riffs, and this overall punk vibe remains throughout the album, there are sections where you do kind of find yourself scratching your head and thinking, I think I've heard this riff before. You know, there are some elements which can be somewhat forgettable as well. So for that reason, I'm going to give the record a 3 out of 5. Mantar's brand new album, The Modern Art of Setting Ablaze, is available August 24th via Nuclear Blast Records, and you can pick up a copy right underneath me. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like and subscribe button. Please make sure to tune in to my Metal Sucks Apocalyptic Anniversary series, which goes up every week. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week for another album review. Alright, take care.